tiny seed. We watch it blossom into life.
Well, waiting in the throes. Waiting in the throes.
There she is.
Dr. Dinah Dye. Thank you
Hi.
for being so patient.
I think I get a star for this. But hey, it's for Brad. I'll do anything. Oh my gosh.
Can you find a sidewalk and I'll put your star in there and put your name in the middle of it.
Right.
Just tell me where and I'll do it.
I just want to send my love, Carol. I don't even know if I can get through this.
We just had Ed and Kathy on and some of our good memories.
I know. We're going to have to share that memory.
Yeah.
Right. But first, I just want to say to you, the woman, every man has a good woman behind him to keep things going. And you are queen in my mind. I just love you. And, your strength has always ministered to me. I admire you and your strength. I can't even begin to tell you. And you kept him in line and you kept things in order. So, we just, both Michael and I just wanted to just tell you how much we love you and that we are, we pray daily for you. And I know that the Father, in everything, he will bring out something special beyond anything that we can imagine in your life and to carry on Brad's legacy, I know. So that brings me to following Ed Garza, our day. So we were at Revive. I don't even remember what year it is. I can never remember. It was in Jacksonville, of course. And everybody had gone home, and we four stayed because we wanted to see the fireworks over the Jacksonville Bridge. And so the four of us decided we were going to go to the beach near Ed's house. And so Michael and I, we got in the back seat, and then Carol's driving and Brad's in the front. And oh my gosh, Michael and I look at each other because they don't quite know where they're going. And at that time, I didn't know how to do the GPS thing, so I couldn't figure it out. I didn't know where we were going. I was just following them. But so Brad would go over here, and then Carol turned the wheel, and Michael and I are in the back, just going back and forth and back and forth. We tried to figure it out. I mean, it was uproariously funny. We did finally find the beach, great beach, and the four of us just had such a special day on the beach. And I actually ended up being the designated driver that day, but we won't go into that. I remember there was a guy at the Revive who heard that we were going off to the beach, and he said something like, I wish I could go because I would just love to be, a fly in the wall to listen to Brad and I talking about all this really deep stuff. And we just laughed because I don't think we talked about anything spiritual the entire day. It was just, hanging out. We were swimming and just sharing. And then after our day, we went back to Ed Garza's house for the barbecue. And I think I had met Ed before, but I didn't know him all that well. But I knew he was the port in the storm for Brad. So we all hung out the rest of the day at Ed's house and then went back to the hotel that evening in Jacksonville for the fireworks. And we all stood out on the roof there and watched the fireworks and did our oohs and ahs. So that is one of my special memories. And thank you, Carol. It was wonderful.
That's fun.
Yeah. So I did send a note off to Carol to share something with her because I was pretty sure nobody knew this and nobody does know this about my relationship with Brad. I think I met Brad in 2006. I'm the worst with dates, but somewhere back there. And I was at a small congregation in Santa Fe. And I had heard about Brad Scott. Now you have to remember, up until this point, I am not a teacher. I'm not out there in the public in any way. I'm just kind of I had connected with this group, and they were telling me all about Brad Scott and Bill Cloud and Rico Cortez. I used to call them the Holy Trinity, but, we won't go into that. And so I was very excited that Brad was coming because I had heard a little bit about his ministry. So small group, we're all just sitting there, and Brad would go anywhere on the planet for one person. That's the one thing that I admired most, and I'll share something about that in a minute. So now you have to remember, I've been studying, 30 years in the trenches, et cetera, and I had taught publicly sort of in church environments, et cetera, but never out in the, in the messianic public. And so Brad started asking all these questions of the group, and everybody just pretty well sit there. And I kept putting up my hand and answering the question, and then put up my hand and answer the question. I pretty much answered every question. And Brad looks at me and goes, "Who are you? Where did you come from?" That was our first meeting. And honestly, we just hit it off after that. So it was about, I'd say, maybe a year later. There was a conference in Santa Fe and sponsored by the group that I was in, and everybody around Santa Fe had come. And by that time, I had actually made my one CD. And so I spoke with Brad and I asked, would it be all right if I was at the back? Could I sell this? And he was, oh, sure, But then it was my first opportunity in the entire Messianic movement thing. Brad gave me the opportunity to speak at his conference. And I'm telling you, that touched me more than anything. I mean, he didn't know me all that well. I could have been, a crazy, but he allowed me to do that. It was such a blessing. And in that, he gave credibility to me. And he was never threatened or jealous. And you have to understand, in this movement, I've run into women can't teach thing. And so to have this teacher who I admired and respected to give me that platform and that opportunity was just huge. And so I followed everything closely with Brad. I just loved him for that, because that meant more to me than anything you could even imagine, right? The doors opened after that. And because he had shared with me that, he would go to Lower Slobovia for a person, my very first speaking engagement, I drove 8 hours into Texas, and there were literally like 5 people there. But I remembered what Brad had shared. He was such an encourager in that way, that it's not about the numbers. It's about being a servant and pouring into other people's lives what God wanted you to pour into. And that was Brad. To me, Brad and character are equal. I think the legacy of Brad is his character, and he lived it, whether he was on stage or not. It didn't matter. He was the same person. And, he was my favorite teacher. What can I say? I learned so much from him. I may have known a lot having grown up in a Jewish home, but my gosh, that man sent me on my road. So I do have to share one thing, is my Peter Award. Carol, do you remember that Revive, when we got all our awards?
Right here.
Yeah.
Right here.
All right.
I got it.
All right. So Brad gave out the awards that year. This is my Peter Award. And he figured out what we won an award for. And mine was for best typecasting of a Jew playing a Jew. I'll never forget that. I ran on stage and we just danced around stage as I received my award. So that's all right.
That's your story.
Yeah, that was the best. And go ahead.
I'm not sure whose idea that was. Brad handed them out, though. He emceed that.
Yeah, but he actually helped with the titles, like the award that we got. So
yeah,
he was involved in that. The other thing I wanted to share, we don't often, as teachers, we're always traveling, and it's tough at conferences sometimes. But I was working for Bible Interact, and we had this brilliant idea that Brad and I would do. I was supposed to do the interview of Brad on his book, The Tabernacle. And so Brad came down and he stayed with Michael and I. And we did this 12-part series, which I have to say on my website is the #1 viewed series. And it's free there. If anyone wants to go, you can watch Brad and I interacting. It was the most fun I ever had doing anything with a teacher, I have to say. And we just, we were just fuel to one another. And he's hilarious. So what can I say? It's very funny. And it was profound because we really inspired one another. And of course, this is an area in which I've done a lot of research, but, Brad had obviously done a tremendous amount from his book. So that was just really special, being able to do that. Just so many of those kind of memories. But, to me, he was like the ever ready bunny, right? Just wound him up and he just went. but I think it's a tremendous loss to the community. I know he's in a better place. I can't wait to see him. In fact, I woke up this morning singing "I Believe." I could hear Brad singing in my ears this morning when I got up. But just loved him dearly, and he was so inspiring and encouraging. And he will be sorely missed. But I know full well, Carol, you are going to pick up the mantle and take that, because there's so much material. I mean, he left so much material, and so it's wonderful. I know.
Thank you. I'm going to keep it on. His number one request was for me to keep the ministry going.
Amen, sister. Looking forward. You're always welcome down here to visit, and I hope. I'm sort of in denial still. I keep thinking I'm going to go to Sukkot and I'm going to go to Revive, and Brad's going to be there. It just. Part of me just hasn't, quite processed that.
Yeah. With you, I think the same thing sometimes.
Yeah.
Well,
first couple of weeks, it felt like, okay, Brad's out on one of his 2-week venues, and I get through all of that. But, the 2 weeks he's come and gone. It's over a month now.
Yeah. Well, I know they say time heals all wounds, but I'm sorry, there's nothing to heal here. He was your man. You guys were the dynamic duo.
Yeah, we were joined at the hip.
Yeah, you were good together. Loved it.
Yeah,
well,
appreciate it.
Love you.
Carol, you've done such a good job through this whole day.
Oh my gosh, yes. You deserve an award.
Well, you had said that you would probably cry several times, and I know you have, but you've held up very strong all day long, and so Dinah, I am so just thrilled that you were here and came in and shared, and great word, great stories and everything. It's not an easy thing to do. The only time I have covered a funeral was at my dad's funeral, and I thought about this, and it's kind of like, it's not a funeral, it's a memorial, but most of the time only a couple of people may speak at a memorial. But oh my gosh, he touched so many people's lives. If you were to do a physical memorial where everybody could come, you'd have to get a stadium. You'd have to rent a stadium. Yeah, to get a room for everybody to come in. So, hey, this worked pretty good. We started off with somewhere around 250 plus. I think it went up to 270 or 80 people at one time, but it's always stayed over 200. And so I'm just thrilled that actually this is the most people we've had at an event since we've done video. And I knew it would be, but it's an honor to be able to do this and put this on and organize. And it was a huge job to put everything together. Half of these people I didn't know, and I had no idea how they were going to interact or do anything. So you just have to let the Lord put it together. And he did. It worked real well. So that does it for me. I'm going to play a couple more videos as we go out. But Dinah, thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to let you go. And if Carol has anything more to say, then we'll go from there.
Love you, girl. Stay in touch.
Love
God
you,
bless.
you love the Michael.
A tiny seed, we watch it blossom into